Example number 2. For a sample of 9 automobiles, the mileage at which the original front brake pads were worn to 10% of the original thickness was measured. A was the mileage at which the original rear brake pads were worn to 10% of their original thickness. The results are given below. Can you conclude that the mean time for the rear brake pads to wear out is longer than the mean time for the front pads? Use the alpha 0.05 significance level. You notice that in the homework, we will never have this line. The problem already calculates the difference for us. But let's assume that we don't have that line. So what should we do? Should we do the rear minus the front, or should we do the front minus the rear? We look at the question. The question says that the mean time for the rear brake pads to wear out is longer. That means now, because they mentioned that it's longer for the rear, look at the rear number. So you look at those numbers. They say it's longer. So let's look at that number and compare with the front number. And you can see that they are bigger. In order to have positive number in the difference, we will do rear minus the front. It's because bigger number minus smaller number, we will make sure to get the difference is positive. So that's why we will get 9.9, 10.1, 10.5, and so on. So for the question in step 0, we want to have the difference for the population, the average difference, which is mu d, to be positive. The sample for 9 of them give positive number, but we want to check if the population is also positive. And after we minus to get the difference, we enter those numbers 9.9, 10.1, 10.5, 9.6, and so on in the Excel, and we calculate the D bar. The D bar is 10.478, and the SD is 0.5215. We use equal average and equal SDTV. Step number 1, we set up the null. The null, we will make mu d equal to 0. We look at the question, right? Okay. And the mu d will be greater than 0 in alternative hypothesis. We will use right tail. The alpha is 0.05. Now, step number 3, we calculate the test statistic. We input the 10.478 for D bar minus mu d. Minus mu naught. Now we look at the naught. We look at the null, and under the null, we assume that it equal to 0. So minus 0. SD is 0.5215 and divided by 9, because we have 9 sample. And the answer we will get for T is 60.28. Step number 4, we find the critical value. We are using the right tail, so the alpha is the shaded area on the right tail, and the alpha is 0.05. We need to find the critical value, and the critical value is the pink color point. We will use T table. We look at the degree of freedom is 8 and 0.05. then you will get 1.860. And we also need to write down the name for the region. The shaded region is reject the null, and the blank region is do not reject the null. In order to make the decision, we go back to step number 3. 60.28 is land on the right side of 1.860, so it's land on the reject null region. So the decision that we make is reject the null. Now you go back to the null, and we in step number 1 to write out the conclusion. You go back to step number 1, you reject the null, so the null is gone. What do we have left is the H1. The H1 say that mu D greater than 0, and go back, and that is exactly the question. So the question, that's what we have left. The question asks that, can you conclude that the mean time for the rear brake pads to wear out is longer than the mean time for the front pads? We will say, yes, we can conclude that. So we will copy down the question. So we can conclude that the mean time, and you copy down the whole thing.